Good evening. This is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. Ways to follow the show. Just basically go to the website, latenightparents.com. We've got everything there. We want to thank you for listening to the podcast, listening to the live shows. This is not a year in review, but this is more like the last show of the year. So I guess it could be like a year in review, but we don't do those type of things. On the line, we have good friend Shawn Armour. You can find him on Twitter, True_Armour. That's TRU_ARMOR. Shawn, how you doing?
What up?
What's going on, man? We was just talking before the recording started. We were talking about life, talking about getting older, and it's special when you can talk with someone that you've gone through so many different stages.
Yeah, I learned to ride a bike with.
You've gone through so many stages with this person, and you could say, hey, you remember in 1977, you came outside and you said to me, and you're like,
right.
You're like, Ted, what are you talking about? I'm like, but somewhere back there, you really do remember it. You're like, oh, wait. Maybe after we get off this podcast, you'll say, yo, I do remember that situation. But
right.
Dude, we are getting older. We were just talking about health, wealth, fitness, and I released in our chat room, I was looking at doing some things, not as a New Year's resolution, because you know what happens to resolutions, right?
Well, okay, tell me what you think happens to a resolution, because all my life I've always been like, that's not true. A lot of people believe that they fall away, and I resolutions up until the last 3 years when I didn't make them because my life was in flux. But, yeah, I mean, I quit smoking on a New Year's resolution, right?
Oh, you did?
Yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations.
So it's a lot of it comes down, in my mind, a lot of your New Year's resolutions don't come down to other people going, it's not going to work out. It's you going, it's not going to work out. So why would you adopt this thing to make yourself better and then cash it in? So my thing is maybe you need to tone it back a little bit, but you should never give up on the idea of a better you. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know I'm hippie AF, man.
It's kind of like gambling on yourself, betting on yourself.
Exactly.
If you don't bet on yourself, who will?
Exactly. And I know it's hard, don't get me wrong, and I know it can be, and it's only you doing it, you don't have a cheerleading squad, but you if you feel you need to give up smoking, let me tell you my smoking story. Let me tell you my smoking story real quick. So
okay.
I used to smoke, and a young woman who was about 5 at the time, who was just and is one of my favorite people. She's older now. I think she's 20 now. And she was like, you should start smoking. I was like, I'm going to try. She was like, you promise? And I was like, And I was like, yeah, I guess I promise. And from that promise, it stuck in my head like someone had stuck it on a corkboard in the office. And every time I lit a cigarette, it began to bother me. And from that point on, when I resolved to quit, it took me 3 years from me going, I got to get this up, just because she was in my head. And it took me about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. So the whole process was like 5 years. But the idea of it began to wear on me and I try and quit, and I fail. I try and quit, and I fail. But I just kept adjusting how I quit. And now I don't smoke. And so yeah, my New Year's resolution took me 6 years on that one. But, it came to pass. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh, no, I hear you. I just noticed
right.
every year you go to the gym, right? And you see your gyms are jam-packed come January 1. Membership is going through the roof. And you come back like by March 1, and the place is...
none of those people are there.
Darn
near. They tell me, but here's the thing. I say, are none of those people there? Because that's 3 months to change the way you look, right? So maybe January 1st you see a lot of rotund people, but by March, which is 90 days, how long it takes to change a body, those rotund people aren't so rotund. And they're not there in sweats anymore. All of a sudden they're in their lycra skinniness and new hair because they're beginning to feel themselves. Oh, I lost 10 pounds. Oh, in February, I lost another 10 pounds. So by March comes around, they're 30 pounds lighter, and they're dressing differently, and they've got a new attitude, as Patti LaBelle would say. They've got their skinny girl swag on, but you'll see these people, and a new haircut, new outfit, and you think that all those January people quit. And I think less of them quit than you think.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense, because I think what I was doing was I was talking about myself, that by March I'm no longer in the gym, and I've already thrown this to the curb, gone back to my drinking ways and eating unhealthy. But I got to tell you, just recently started a new healthy way of eating, of just alcohol consumption. And I did this right after, in the midst of the holiday season, because, we had all these holiday parties leading up towards the end of the year. Right. So, from various different vendors and all this other stuff, and had to show up here, had to show up there, and it's open bars and you name it.
Right. Free meals, have the steak. Right.
So within the last 48 hours, I've officially started, because I wanted to start it before the new year.
That's a smart choice. Yeah.
I wanted to start it before the new year. So, increasing the water intake. I'm not saying that I'm not going to not drink again, but it will be in
No, that would be zealotry. If the human body can, let's say, drink 50 drinks a day, let's say that, right? And we're all drinking 50 drinks a day. All we're saying is, of those 50 drinks, if you were normally drinking 20 alcoholic beverages a day, tone that down to 15 and add in 5 more waters. And that's all we're saying. We're not saying go cut dry. You know what I'm saying? I mean, 50 is a lot, but let's say 10. But that's the idea of it. So when here's another weirdness. I used to quit smoking every 6 months because I was a bar guy for like forever. And I was like, let me monitor this. So every 6 months, I would quit drinking for like 2 months, 2-3 months, just to make sure I didn't have any sketchy urges to be a drunk or anything. But I also drink a lot of water because I was a runner. So in order to also cut back on some of that drinking that I was doing, I would have a water between beers, between shots, right? Not all night, but I would eventually have like 2 or 3 pints of water when I normally wouldn't have had any. And before I gave that up, it just went to shots. So now I was still drinking, but I was also drinking less because I was drinking more water. All these kind of like life hacks that you can do. The worst thing you can do is be a zealot about anything. I would tell anybody, if they needed to lose 200 pounds, the Jared diet is fine, that Subway thing, but it's the same thing every day. You can't maintain. He did it for a long time, I guess, but you can't maintain that throughout the course of your life. What you can do is adjust. You know what I mean? And then you hit new levels of adjusting, and before you know it, maybe you're not drinking anymore. But for now, instead of quitting drinking, and if you have 5 drinks a night, cut back to like 3 and have 2 glasses of water or a glass of water between, and before you know it, you'll be filled up, or any sort of new progresses will start for you. But the idea is, don't be a zealot and don't give up the fight. I mean, we as men, we are supposed to battle these things out. And I guess we as human animals are supposed to battle this thing out. But socially, yeah, I mean, you can get it done without being a zealot, and stop drinking and stop eating. The only thing I would tell you, if you were going to give up completely, is smoking, because we know where that's going, and that's expensive. But all the other stuff, it's a slow jog, It's like, it always takes me at least a mile to get into my running speed because I never warm up. So by the time I hit the 2-mile mark, I feel miserable enough but in sync enough to hit my stride. And that's what it is. I've had girlfriends who were runners, and they'd just be a bullet, and they'd just lead me. And they were like, I thought you were a runner. but we're different. So, so I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Don't give up is my point of New Year's resolutions. All your listeners, man. I mean, late night parent listeners, you cannot. You adjust and it's like the battle plan. It's like no battle plan survives engagement. So you go, oh, well, I guess I'll adjust here and do this. Or maybe I wanted to lose 10 pounds this month. Maybe I want to back that down to maybe just 4, and and this is how you end up not hating yourself that you quit, that you gave up. Because I'm pulling for you. I'm one of those hippie knuckleheads, and I'm pulling for you. Out here in the hinterland, you don't know me, but I'm a fan of yours, and I'm pulling for you. So when someone goes up, she's in the gym, who she think she kidding? You know that they said that, and just kind of do your thing regardless. And, those same people in 6 months will walk up to you and go, oh, my God, you look totally different. And that's where the cash register is, right? That's where the payoff is. People letting you know that your hard work has been noticed.
That's true.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we're talking with Shawn Armour. You can find him on Twitter at true_armor. So I was told this past holiday season, I guess it's officially over, the holiday season, or the shopping season. Shopping season.
Well, yeah, but the holiday season doesn't end till the 6th. It's 12 days of Christmas, man.
Oh, okay. So this holiday season has generated $850 billion in sales.
Ooh, where is my half?
Tell me,
Lord.
First question is for you, what was the best gift that you received this year or that you wanted to receive? And then we'll jump into, I guess, the tragedies of Kmart and Sears.
Wow, yeah. Well, I spent the holidays with my family, and I got uncle gifts, socks and cologne and stuff like that. I'm a single dude, right? So, and that was fine. But I'm also not a shopper buyer guy.
Okay.
Having said that, I watch and I'm in the mood for a new computer monitor and a new big screen TV for my Xbox in the living room. But other than that, I'm just kind of like, But yeah, people get into it. People are really jazzed about spending on the holidays, and I think that's a good thing in a weird way, because it lights the kids up, new things, they don't know the economics of it, macro, micro, they don't care. It's just nice to see, little kids rip stuff open and get stuff. Having said that, I don't see how in this, and we're a spending economy, right? We're a spending country, and people like to buy the new hotness, right? Got these Air Jordans. I just got this nice car, this new cool this, and it's cultural. It's in the American fabric that this is kind of what we do. If you have the money to do it, if you have to spend money to do it, this is what we do. Having said that, I don't understand the Sears issue at all. I mean, they're going bankrupt in a place where people like to spend money, and they were the biggest of the big, and it's like the dinosaurs, like the dinosaurs were displaced by what were essentially small mammals like mice and things that could live underground, while they were big as houses and untouchable, unhuntable, And I think somewhere along the way, Sears just kind of just dropped the ball so badly that somebody ought to sue them for malfeasance. You know what I mean? I mean, all these small companies that shot up, these internet companies who was like Amazon, who was super tiny and had a new paradigm. I don't understand why they didn't adopt the paradigm. And now they're they're going to close all their shops, right? Did I hear that, or did someone just reinvest in Sears?
No, I think they dodged the bullet, but they're shutting down another 80 stores, and that's a combination between Sears and Kmart.
That is outrageous. I mean, think about this. Sears has been around for, 120 years? I mean, it was a safe bet. You could go there, you could put your time in, you could retire from Sears, what about all those people who have, 20 years in, who aren't going to be able to retire from this store that seems to be on its last legs? I feel that every time we talk about these conglomerates going under, and it was a conglomerate, it was a giant, it wasn't just a business, it was the biggest business. It was up there with IBM, which is now, actually IBM is still pretty huge. But I feel that it's not just about them, it's all these people that they put on the street. You know what I mean? We always see it with the miners, the coal miners, and like when you move, like you saw these Donald Trump guys, we're going to bring these jobs back. We were like, yeah, Donald Trump. And then like people are like, yeah, these jobs aren't coming back. And one guy was crying on CBS about he moved his family twice for the company. And those are the people that I feel for. I mean, how much faith?
I'll jump in here and say,
yeah.
I've been in a situation where I think it was 16, 17 years ago, almost 18 years ago, I moved my family for a job.
Right.
And I caught on really quick. Well, I will give, I'll give the thumbs up to my wife. She caught on really quick and was like, I don't want to stay.
Right.
And I was all in.
Right.
All in, okay?
Right.
And lo and behold, what was it, like 10 years, 12 years after we moved back to New York, guess what? A place that everyone had moved to, they were shutting down because operations are going towards Mumbai.
Mumbai? Jeez, man. I mean, how are you not furious enough to be loose with your language, much less your, I mean, it's wow, Mumbai.
They were.
That's outrageous.
They were. So we moved from New York to Tampa, and then we moved back. But the people that stayed in Tampa, their jobs were relocated to Mumbai.
And I want you to think that people will leave like another job for this better pay, and then all of a sudden, they just pick up and move or shut down the factory and go to Mexico or Mumbai or India. And now you're sitting here going, I shouldn't have left the good job that I had. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you have these babies and this wife or husband and these babies. Oh man, don't get me started. How about this one, New Year's resolution? Think clearly, because some of this stuff is ridiculous, and they always want to sweet talk you, but you got to think clearly. Some of these jobs is a date. You know what I mean? If that guy's like, no, this is my cousin's car, and he's got like what's those things? A screwdriver in the ignition. You might want to think clearly and get out of there. But geez. Wow. Mumbai.
I don't know. I keep, every time I hear these reports about Sears and these type of stores, this is me being selfish, because we have a Sears locally here in Garden City, and first thing I look on a list to see if they closed the one in Garden City, and I'm like, oh, it made the cut, so it's one of the stores that's making money. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine. Because can you only imagine? I mean, maybe some people can, but there's certain items that, Amazon is great, but there's certain items you need to actually go into a physical store and look at.
Thank you. Exactly. I tell people this all the time. It's like sometimes you want to test it and fiddle with the thing. You want to talk to the but here's the thing. In the old days, you could talk and somebody knew about the department that they were in, Now everybody's like, oh, no, man, I can get you the manager. You're like, you know. So going in can be just as infuriating. And sometimes I just go, now I know why these places are going out of business. You guys are, everybody wants to be employed. Nobody wants to do the job. You know what I mean? And it's not like, why don't I just get it from Amazon? My ex used to order shoes from Amazon, and she would get like 6 shoes in different sizes, like in different colors. And then she would try it on the upper sides and lower sides, see which one that she liked, and just strip the other ones back. And and I was like, is this? I mean, somebody got to put these back on the rack. Do these get? But that's the way they do it, and it's the only thing you're out if you can just order all this stuff to your house, 20 dresses to your house, keep the 5 you like, and send the other 15 back, and without the snotty attitude of a preteen or some guy who was like, I went to Nam. You're like, ugh. And now you're just kind of like, I wanted to walk in and ask a lot of questions about this thing, but these people are aggravating. So why would I do that? Now, I mean, it's a dark cycle. The cycle reminds me of the climate change cycle. You know, I don't really know how you're going to make people care about a job that disrespects them, but I get that they disrespect you, but I don't want to be disrespected. Why? Because you feel disrespected. I'm spending money here. You know, and that's me, who has a fair amount of empathy. Most people are just kind of like, you know, if they're in there and you're the server, then you serve them, and you know what I mean? So I get it, but at the same time, the problem is these boardroom people who, if you felt good about walking into their shop, it would be a word of mouth thing. You know what I mean? And there's nothing better than word of mouth. But now it's all just kind of like commercials come in because the commercials say we're good to the customers, and people just, I don't know, man. The environment has gotten so weird. I mean, the idea that you can't even walk into a place and have a nice small exchange with like the client, the customer service, right? The customer service person, and then have them know a little bit about stuff, like, what's the difference between, you know, these Post-it notes and this Post-it? I do a lot of shopping at my local art place, and I'm like, what's up with this canvas versus these canvas, bleach versus not, these mole hairs versus, you know, and nobody knows. I'm like, do you think that you get people who were painters and drawers and artists to work in your art shop? And they just got people who needed a gig, I guess. And it's just kind of like, all right. So now I look online for what I want and look for what the people say in the comments. And then I go and I handle my business myself. I know where to go. If they ask me, hey, do you need any help? I generally go no, unless it's somebody who looks like a manager, because then I want to mess with the manager, see if they know what they're talking about. But, you know, I buy my art there, my markers, my pads, and then I just go out. But it's not because I had a really nice exchange with anybody anymore. Oh, I love this art place. Those people are all cool. I never say that about anybody. I just kind of go, oh, that art place is there, and it's the closest one. I'll go there. And at the end of the day, these giant conglomerates have kind of killed that off in America. It's the idea of the mom-and-pop shop. Everybody wants you to shop at their mom-and-pop shop so they can have 2 and 3 and then 6 and 12 and then sell it to Amazon. And good, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't think you get I'm not trying to help you. Man, I don't know. Don't even get me started. The idea of it has gotten ridiculous, and why it is this way was coming down the pike for a long time.
Oh, no, I agree with you. And I think I said to you and a bunch of our friends in the chat room that I think it was leading up to Thanksgiving. I walked into JCPenney. It was empty. Couldn't find a rep that wasn't located at a register. So,
right, exactly.
If you needed something on the floor, you were kind of SOL. But if you wanted to for something, you can go to a register. The person was there.
Right.
And
exactly.
I tell you, there have been times when I've run into that before with traveling to Sears, like picking up an item at Sears, and I'm standing around there like 20, 30 minutes. I've already gone to the kiosk. I've punched in my code that I was given that the product would be there, and it was like, who did it and ran? And then, just like you said, you wonder, I mean, and not to be negative, because we know people have jobs and people need jobs.
Yeah, and it's hard, and there's, the service
and economy is hard out here, and,
exactly.
Everyone doesn't have a master's degree, and we get it. We understand.
Right, exactly.
But
like I always tell them, hey, man, I was there once. I remember being 16 and 17 with these busted jobs. I get it. But at the same time, I knew enough about what I was doing to let you know where this or that was. And if I didn't know it, who in the store did know it versus, what this phone-in work that you're getting now.
Right. And I just remember walking around, almost going into the back of the stockroom myself. Because I'm standing there, I'm ringing the bell, and I'm like, okay, there's no one here. There's no one around here. And they're like, oh, you got to go upstairs to such and such area. And I go upstairs, and they've closed like 5 minutes earlier.
Right.
But, that's when you start to sit there and rant, and we start to sound like old grumpy men.
You go, now I understand why they're shutting these businesses down, and you will be out of work. Look, it comes. Remember, I always use this example. It's the Whitney Houston example. It's the idea that these things are closing, and this is your job. You need to do your best to keep this alive, right? So it's like Whitney Houston and her entourage. You had one job in her entourage to look after her, and you failed in that one gig. You know what I mean? And that's essentially what it is. You have to be able to keep this system up and running because it's your bread and butter. You know what I mean? So you go into these stores, there's no one on the floor. I mean, shame on Sears for having no one on the floor. So every day you tell me you care less and less about the people coming in to shop or buy whatever. You have no professional, anybody in that place other than the automotive department where you have to know this stuff. But the idea that you don't have somebody who knows the difference between this TV and that TV is ridiculous when people naturally know this because they're curious. So why don't you hire the guy who knows this, right? Like if I worked for Sears, you could easily put me in the TV section, if you had a comic book section or a novel section, you could put me there. But I would struggle in your automobile department. The idea that you don't even ask what you're good at, where we can best utilize you, is ridiculous. And then you go to the checkout, and they'll have 20 registers, and there'll only be 3 people on any of the registers, and there'll be a line, and that'll be a line if the place is crowded or not. I've been sitting here going, why is there a line? This place is empty, and it's people are just not serious about it anymore. And so it's when people get not serious and they're at work, they just tend to make everyone around them crazy. Whether you're coming in to buy something or you have to work with them or they're a boss, everybody's phoning it in.
Well, right? I think some people are phoning it in from the workers' perspective, but also on the analytics side, because you got to think about it. These people are doing some type of forecasting. So they're saying, hey, based on last year's numbers, we only need to have 1.5 person.
But you know what forecasting gets you? Forecasting gets you Donald Trump as president. These people rarely know what the hell they're talking about. Excuse my language. But they I once had a girlfriend who had a PhD in economics, and we were talking about, and mind you, I ain't got no education, and we were talking about the presidential elections, and she said, and I will remember this forever because I thought she was fairly astute, and she said, George Bush will never be president, and I was like, huh, and he became president not just once but twice, right, and I remember hearing it again when they were like, Donald Trump will never be president, and Barack Obama said it, and the first thing that happened was a shiver ran right down my spine. I was just kind of like, it was almost like deja vu. So, I mean, stop underestimating things that you yourself would, would either give into or not put up with, right? And it's that. It's like if you're gonna be a party person, when someone goes, oh, this guy's outrageous. He's hanging out with all these girls and he's drinking and running for president. He's cheating on his wife. How dare he? You as a party person have to be able to have some insight into that and be like, I don't think a lot of people are going to have a problem with that, because a lot of guys who aren't doing that want to do that. And a lot of guys, you know what I mean? And it's this kind of thing. You have to look at it with the eye of someone who's, I don't want to say a pragmatist, but someone who isn't a BS artist, if I can say that. And I think that everybody wants to be right. It's like the Me Too movement, where believe all women. You're like, that's ridiculous. There are women in jail, you know what I mean, who are guilty of stuff. Your believe all women implies women don't do bad things. They don't lie. They don't cheat. They don't steal. How about we get to the bottom of it and punish the bad actors? How's that? Versus every woman is instantly right. And this is where you're going. People are agreeing with stuff that they know full well that they don't really agree with. In order to look popular but in order to not make any waves in this society where everybody seems to say the same thing to be popular. If you don't want to be popular, I mean, you'll know where I'm coming from. But if you raise people to get along and be I don't want to say neighborly. That's the wrong word, because I think you should be neighborly. But just to fit in is a problem, and I think you're getting a lot of this fit in noise. I wish, I think I said this before. I think the problem with just gonna hit the Me Too movement one more time. The problem with the Me Too movement is there aren't enough women who will challenge other women. When men do it, we sound like, oh yeah, well now you're supporting bad behavior. Like what? No, I'm just saying. But if you have, a wider degree of ladies, some who are 50 and 60 and some who are 20 and 30, and they cover all gamuts, black, white, women, when some woman runs up and goes, oh, X, Y, or Z, instead of guys going, this doesn't sound right, the women can go, that doesn't sound right, because some of these stories sound fishy. So, yeah, I don't know how did I get on Me Too?
I'm not sure how we got on Me Too, but I want to give a big shout-out to a sponsor of Late Night Parents, the Welt Smart Belt, WELT Smart Belt. It assists in a healthy lifestyle by tracking the waist size, steps, sitting time, and overeating frequencies. Connect with the Welt app via the Bluetooth and make your belt smart. That, once again, is the Welt Smart Belt. I want to thank you guys for sending me a model. I've tested it out for the past 30 days, and it's and also interviewed, which we'll probably release tonight, Dr. Shawn Kang. Did an interview with him while he was in Korea. The beauty of Skype, Shawn, I will tell you.
Nice.
Here it was like a Thursday night, but it was a Friday morning. It was Thursday maybe at 8, and it was Friday at 8 in the morning, and we were able to connect and talk about his product and everything else like that. But that's the beauty of what we do on Late Night Parents. Do want to give a big shout-out to WRWK in, I'm going to say Richmond. It's Midlothian Turnpike, Virginia. That's 93.9. It's called The Work, WRWK. Thank you for downloading the podcast.
I think that's Midlothian.
Say it again?
Midlothian.
Midlothian.
Yeah, Turnpike.
Oh, okay. That's not too far from you. Well, I mean, it's closer to you than it is to me, right?
Yes.
But I do know they've downloaded the podcast and they played it on a couple of occasions, so we do appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk to you about this next item, which is not per se about the president, but I want to talk about the government shutdown. The byproducts of this government shutdown, Congress going left and right. I mean, whoever you want to blame the president, you want to blame GOP, you want to blame the Democrats. I want to just talk about getting to the core, because all these other people really don't matter.
Right.
Me, Shawn, what matters most is the mom that's depending on child support from the federal worker whose pay is frozen.
Right.
The federal worker who can't make the mortgage payments.
Right. Okay, here's the thing.
Okay.
These people suck, all right?
Wait, I need you to stop. When you say these people, who are these people?
Congress.
Okay, go ahead.
They call it Congress because someone's always getting screwed. So the thing about Congress is, if you're going to do this, then you need to build in something for those people who have to pay everyday bills, who have to pay their mortgage and their rent, who have to send out checks to schools for the kids' tuitions. And instead, you leave them holding the bag while you collect a check. I mean, it's the height of arrogance. Talk about Congress leaving people behind. You know what I mean? But then they'll make a certain exemption for the military, for the guys with guns. The guys with guns are getting paid. But wait a minute. No one should be doing free work in America as a great-grandchild of slaves, right? No one should be doing free work in America. So it amazes me that they didn't write something in any of this that these people either keep getting a check, or if they didn't get a check, the people that they owe would have to take it on the chin, which is kicking the can down the road. But at least, it's looking after these men and women in these offices and cubicles and these garden guys who cut these lawns and these grasses and these what are those that everybody always wants to go? The national parks that they always want you to go to, but now nobody can go to any of the national parks because they're all closed for government shutdown. It's just, I just wish I could get a get out of jail free card so I could just slap one of them upside the head and ask them what the hell are they thinking. Because they go in saying that they're for you and me, us working dudes, right, us mom and pops, and then they get there and they never look back. It's like, as soon as you go, hey, the air is bad or something, all of a sudden you're a snowflake or a hippie or a liberal or some other thing that they can just smack you down with to put you in this box. But at the end of the day, shutdown or no, people have to pay their bills. And you put people in a bad position. So what is it? What's that stat? Something like 60% of people don't have 2 months worth of savings in the country. That's got to be some government workers.
I think I said to you that 68% of people and we're talking strictly Americans in the United States have less than $500 in their savings account.
See, that is just, that's outrageous that you would do that to these people. Like everybody is a 19-year-old frat boy who lives in his parents' basement. Everybody is not, what's the word I'm looking? Everyone who works for the government is not flush with cash, right?
No, they're not.
You can't do this to people. And they do it to people all the time.
You have people living check to check, regardless who they are.
Yeah.
Because people tend to live above their means.
Exactly.
And we're not saying that you should penalize them for living above their means, but
this is America.
Right.
You can save if you want. You can spend if you want. Exactly. As long as you don't steal. So that whole living above your means has nothing to do with the argument. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you can pay your bills when your bills are due, then you're a good American. And if these guys only have $240 in them, but they've got this excellent balancing act going, you kick them off their high wire with your shenanigans. So you're essentially throwing stuff at their circus act because, yeah, you should have more than $500 in your savings account. But you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, this is not their bad. They're not running up against financial turmoil because they did something. They don't owe a bookie. You know, they didn't spend the money at a casino. You know, you screwed them over with this. Nobody gets a check, but you have to come in and do the work nonsense. That's outrageous. The first people who should lose this money is Congress. You know what I mean? The first people who should pause everything, health care, salary, private drivers, all that, take the bus like the rest of us, is Congress. It's outrageous that this is, and I don't really blame Donald Trump for this shutdown either. I don't. I look at this like the Democrats could not wait to this was their trump card. They weren't trying to work with him, and they needed him to own this, right? So they went out giddy. At the end of the day, I don't like either one of these groups, and I refuse to keep choosing that which one is the better. At this point, you're murdering off like American families to be a globalist, right? So we can have all these great international relationships, but they're costing American workers, American mom and dads, and American kids. Kids are not as smart as they were when we went to high school. I don't care what they tell you. They're not. And I don't think we were as smart as my dad. My dad knows a ton of stuff that he had to know. And somewhere along the line, they didn't do it all at once. They sort of like let the standard slip and let the standard slip and let the standard slip. And now you look at the kids today, 25 and 30-year-olds who had a high school education. We're not saying let's just talk high school because college, everybody doesn't get a college education. They cut back some of the stuff that they taught, right? And then I think that from the time I was a kid, and they did the same thing to my generation. You're always getting less in America, corporate America, you might as well call it. It's not right. Pay these people. They're doing the work. It's not like, and some of these people are being furloughed. So now you sit at home and I get a check?
Well, I think it comes down to
logic.
Essential versus non-essential.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you know what's essential? Eating and heat, which we all need.
Right.
So,
right.
What are you telling me? we're gonna put your heating and your eating on hiatus? Shame on these people. And the reason why, I don't run for president, or you don't run or someone else who thinks common sense like this doesn't run for president is because it's $1 billion to run for president. So they didn't tell you can't run for president, but they put it so far out of reach that you can't run for president. So who's your next hope? The porn stripper, not scientist, attorney? Is he it? What's her name? Dancy Daniels or whatever her name is? Smiley Daniels? Her lawyer? Stormy Daniels? Is her lawyer going to do it?
Michael Avenatti is that?
Right. It becomes this thing where you have to always, it's a casino now where you bet on who you want to sort of represent you, and it sort of looks like a Disney movie where all the knights in shining armor are trying to fight the dragon, and they're just getting decimated, but behind the dragon is, I guess, the girl you have to wake up with a kiss or something. This is what's going on when that's a European dynamic. What should happen with the American dynamic is all the civilians in these villages to tell these Prince Charmings that we don't need them and rush the thing ourselves, and by that, rush it ourselves. By that, I mean somebody that you like, your baker, your butcher, your dog catcher, who you like, who you think is smart, should get a grassroots movement to run for some office. And that happens in no offices because all of them are owned wholeheartedly, and I don't know who owns them outright, but I'm pretty sure the American citizens don't. So, yeah, I mean, the idea that they're all for a shutdown tells me that they are all disconnected from us average men and women who have kids to feed and car notes to pay. I mean, you set the American dream with a house and a car and, like, all this stuff, and then you make it impossible to maintain that. And, right, so now that's the people who have it. Now it's impossible to get if you're about 30, so, yeah. I don't know. I could rage about this government forever. I try not to.
No, it's just, like I said, we can sit here and we can scream, get off our grass, get off our lawn, and we can say,
You're
hey,
whippersnappers.
But, you kind of, I don't know, like, so at work, I work with a bunch of millennials.
Right.
And the way they view things and the way we view things are two totally different. You could take the same scenario, and the way we're going to attack that scenario or whatever the issue is, we're going to address it. It's going to be much different than the way they see it and the way they will address it.
Right, which is fair. I mean, generational differences have always been around, right? And that's just fair. But I read this article. I forgot the name of the article, but it's this idea that the people who raise the millennials essentially Frankenstein them. Exactly. Everybody's a delicate flower. Everybody gets a trophy. You're all important, and you're the most important one, honey. And you raise them and now they all have this sense of entitlement, but they all want stuff. But the world is not going to humor that. So now I think they're adjusting fine from what I see, but they're not in power, and they won't be in power for about 35 years. I think we had this conversation the last time I was on your show about our generation finally coming in, which is about once you hit about 50. So, yeah, some people will be ahead of the curve and get elected like Obama. Well, how old was Obama when he got elected? He was about 52. But generally, people who get elected to president are like 65 and 70. So he was ahead of the curve by a lot. But from here on out, our presidents are likely going to be the 60s generation who were all right with marijuana, right? They were all right with drinking and cohabitating. They were all right. And now you're seeing some of that social justice reform, which you didn't get from the people in the 50s who grew up thinking that, who were maybe 30 in the 50s, who were sort of set in their ways and thought that the people of the 60s, who by the time they were 40s were whorish hippies, right? And the 70s were drug addicts and black, So you get a different tone of people because they grow up in a different environment. Like, have you noticed that everything on television is black music with white faces? Have you noticed this? Right? So in the 70s, it was all rock music, right? In the 80s, it was rock and almost no hip-hop, but hip-hop was all over the radio. So now in the 2000s, and it wasn't even this big in the 2000s, but now there's hip-hop grooves, hip-hop beats selling you cars, they're in interludes in movies and commercials. They're all over the place. And a lot less of this orchestral, like Star Trek, kind of like big 40-piece ensemble stuff happening when they use that for movies essentially for emotional context. But when they want a feeling or a flow, it's always black music, and it doesn't matter if it's 5 years ago or it's Ray Charles from like the 60s and the 70s and 50s, and that tells you that one of the first rips on like the culture was the music, devil music, blah 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 blah, and now people are like they grew up with the music. The music is not an issue. So going back to what I said, people in who grew up in like with the 60s, and it's 50 years since I read since Woodstock. So those people are now coming into power. They're lawyers and they're going, yeah, why are people being sent to jail for weed much less sent to jail for 10 years for weed. That's ridiculous. So I fully expect in 10 years social justice reform. But here's the problem with social justice reform. What you need is legal reform, because the way this society marginalizes you and steals from you outright is with the lawyers, right? So when you go, this is not right, I need a lawyer, and you have to talk to a judge who's a lawyer, who's a gatekeeper for justice. So cops don't get punished for bad behavior. And I've got in my head this guy who raped a woman in uniform. And it was like, oh, no, she came on to me, so I was like, what? So and the judge was like, mulligan, and you keep these people around. I think as this goes on in 10 years, you're not going to be able to get away with this. Well, the problem with the Me Too movement is it's heavy-handed. It's not going anywhere because they have an absolute righteous and correct point. And those people who grew up, and I think some of this Me Too movement is trying to get a hold of the movement to direct it at people, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that, considering a lot of the 60s, 70s era people who are coming up, there was also a sense of social justice, right? Not just getting control of something. So maybe the hope and the dream of the quote-unquote perfect America, where you hit 18, you go out there into the workforce, you get that sucky job, which gives you a better job, and then you're in the rat race with the rest of us. Start your business, start your family, whatever that may be. It'll be easier because these people won't be allowed to rob you blind. And I think the people who are around now, these 60s, not so much 60s, but like these 70s and 80-year-old people who have it now, come from a generation where their parents were the poorest of the poor from the Great Depression, right? So their parents told them about the Great Depression and war, and then they were born in, I want to say, 1930-something. So they were 20s when the 50s came around, and car hops and socks, and their biggest thing was like a hot rod. But they also had all those social, white makes right kind of women stay in the kitchen kind of, no foreigners kind of rules, but they loved money. So now you see them in charge, and what do you get? You get all the people who love money making laws when nobody pays taxes, and everybody wants to show you how, how many people from their family they can shove in a job, and their day is coming to an end. The problem with America is none of these people are ever called to carpet for what they did, right? Nixon, he ended with a giant motorcade funeral, despite that he was a bad guy, right? Who's the other guy? The cross-dresser from the FBI. What's his name? Anyway, the FBI building is Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover. The FBI building is named after him, and we all acknowledge that he was a bad dude. So when you begin to take these statues of like traitors down in the South and you change the name of that building, you'll begin to see a shift in America. But you're going to have to wonder if it's going to still be around, because we've got what I think, this is just my opinion, we have foreigners in our apparatus, and I don't think anybody cares to do anything about it. But yeah, I think the shift is on, and I think the next 15 to 20 years will tell the tale. Because if we can't survive the next 15 to 20 years, we're not going to survive. Because once the people who everybody gets a pony, people show up, it's the nation is dead. They're either going to have to fix their crap by the time they get there, or the nation is going to be a wrap. Because everybody can't be right. Some people have to be wrong, and everybody who's wrong isn't a villain. It's just a simple difference of opinion. But yeah, I think America's got a long way by sowing division amongst its citizens, so the people at the top can be at the top. And I think people who are plucked, like that, you get that what's happened to my memory? You get the Willy Wonka card at the ice cream bar, and you win your election. I think the first thing they do is they shake your hand and say, "Congratulations on your election. This is how it works." And then you sort of turn your back on the people who got you there. But at the end of the day, I think the American people, I tell my nephew this all the time, there's too much information coming at you for them to hide stuff. So it's not like they can say, and like they did 100 years ago, that, black people had tails and, we were dangerous and all that. No one believes that. We have smaller brains. No one believes that anymore. There's too many facts out. The idea that, if you have a woman president, she'll be emotional and start no one believes that nonsense. It's ridiculous. So once you cast away, and people will try and still use that, but more and more people aren't buying into it. And it pegs you more as a loser and a dangerous character in the public politics than it paints, somebody who may run for office who, had to strip to get to A to B to feed the kids, and now all of a sudden, she's turned it all around. So they'll go, she did this. That won't matter because people have come up and changed in ways that I think the majority of us will be like, oh, wait, what, she didn't steal anything? Because I'm being stolen from right now, like this government shutdown. And they'll be more willing to give those people shots than perpetual lawyers, perpetual sons of rich people. And that's going to be where the tale is told, I think. That's me rambling. But, yeah.
No, well said, well said. Hey, want to give a big shout-out to the Martinez Street Women's Center. Let's see, let me get this straight. KMSW in San Antonio, Texas. We want to thank you also for downloading the podcast. The Martinez Street Women's Center also presents the Parent Zone. It's a positive parenting program. Ask questions, do you have children 0 to 5 years old? Are you interested in exchanging behavior management skills with other parents? Do you want to build healthy relationships with your kids? And do you want constructive feedback on parenting choices? The Parent Zone is an evidence-based curriculum with interactive lessons that foster community building and a compassionate learning environment. So big shout out to the Martinez Street Women's Center. Also want to give a big shout out to Global Community Radio that plays this every week. They play the live show, and who else? WRAQ, Upstate New York, that plays us. We want to say thank you once again, guys. The Underground in Kansas City, Missouri, they play us every week. St. Louis, Missouri? No, Kansas City. Yeah, in Kansas City. They play us every week. The under.us 90. And also big shout out to Rich Valdez for co-hosting the weekly Sunday show, podcast, all the above. Hey, want to just, I guess final topic is, for you, Shawn, Netflix is killing it. I think the latest 2 features that have come out within the last week, let me get this straight, because I was watching one of them. I'm going to say, I don't know if you've watched Bandersnatch or Bird Box. Bandersnatch is from the Black Mirror series.
Right.
It's different. It's different because Netflix has really done it. They've made an interactive 90-minute episode.
I heard about this.
That gives you, there's possibility of maybe 6 or 7 different endings based on your choices. I mean, if you go, Netflix does not sponsor the show in any way. They've just got a great product. They just got a great product. They're killing it.
But Netflix could sponsor the show if they wanted to.
And if they did want to sponsor the show, I would gladly, and I would talk about it.
Come on down, Netflix. You're welcome.
But I got to tell you,
the
fact that Bird Box, let me get this right. Bird Box had 45 million Netflix users watch that in a 6 or 5 to 7 day time span. And I'm sure the Black Mirror episode is going to have numbers that are going to be equal to it. What I've noticed, Shawn, is a lot of these stars, Sandra Bullock from Bird Box, they're going straight to Netflix. They're saying the heck with conventional Hollywood and the red carpet and all of that. They're just releasing on Netflix.
I think that's a smart choice. I really do. I think when Will Smith made that, what's the name of that movie? Bright.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I heard how much they spent on it, and I was like, I got to see this just for. I expected, I guess something in me expected to be like a TV movie of the week. It was going to be good, but it was full feature-length movie quality. It was solid, and I actually think it's one of Will Smith's best works. But if I was a movie star, why wouldn't I take my pet project, my great idea, to Netflix, who's letting you know we are hungry for ideas? And it seems like they handle it very differently than the standard studio deal goes. And you get feedback almost immediately. Like the night it airs, you know how many people watched it, who liked it, everybody's tweeting about it. It seems like a better deal for the artist. I don't know about the business people, but as an artist, if I was still writing scripts and stuff and trying to like sell you something, I would be happy to deal with Netflix exclusively, because Netflix always seems to me to be I don't want to say talent friendly. That's not quite right, but open, you know. They have a super wide variety of good stuff, and I don't think, like Disney, you can't curse in a Disney movie, right? So Disney doesn't have a wide variety of. It has good stuff, but it's not a wide variety for all tastes. It's just PG-13 taste, Disney. Netflix it covers the board. So, and it tells you just to make good content. And if your content is good and they'll fund it, and they'll fund it up to what the giant companies will give, like Fox and Paramount and all these will give you $90 million for a movie, you know, and that's respectable. That's way more than respectable. So yeah, I think they are killing it. Wow, I haven't seen Bird Box. I'm not a horror guy, but I don't see why you wouldn't. I mean, because your movie's going to end up on Netflix anyway, right?
Eventually.
Yeah. Exactly.
Eventually, it's going to end up there.
Exactly. So yes, and you get the same. I'm assuming you get the same money, but with like, you know, artistic kind of like control, because everyone says that you mess with Netflix, they don't show up on the set, they don't ask you a million questions. They go, "That's your project? Okay, we like it. Here's some money. Have it here by XYZ date." And then that seems to be the way that they operate, which is why people like Netflix. So why these artists are loving Netflix. But yeah, bring it on. I'm on Netflix nightly. And I'm a cartoon head, and they have all these interesting shows from around the world that I've never seen before. I'm like, yeah, Netflix is a move, because I don't think Fox would have given me any of that stuff, and made it as interesting. Yeah, so I don't know I don't know what their business model is, but whatever it is, only tweak it to stay in business. You know what I mean? Don't become Sears. But it looks like there's nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? It looks like people are jealous of them, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I'll regret losing all the Marvel movies and the Star Wars movies, But at the end of the day, that's not going to get me to move to a Star Wars streaming service, and it's not going to get me to move to the Marvel streaming service, where I guess they're going to try and put up. Netflix is it.
Yeah,
have your listeners in the comments say why it isn't. But yeah,
I think the fans that are going to move to Disney Plus will move there. But I think the core values of the core users of Netflix are going to stay right there. And I think they're going at it much smarter, because when you hear a company is burning through $5 and $6 billion a year, a lot of that was on licensing fees, which is the reason why.
Yeah, I heard that the Friends thing cost them $100 million.
$100 million.
Right.
$100 million.
For a 20-year-old TV show.
And not only that
guy might have got fired.
That no, it's a TV show that's it's turning 25 years old, and you can find it on regular TV. But the fact of the matter is, people like to binge it. People like to look at it. And
that's true. I'm a binger.
But if you look at them, mostly their original content is what they're stacking up on lately. Because when you create this original content, you pay the producer, you pay the star, whatever like that. You're not paying some continuing licensing fee to someone.
Exactly, and it's yours forever.
And it's yours forever. It's in your library forever. And someone just yank it out, or someone, if they're having a bad day or a bad year, some CEO. I like the fact that Netflix isn't a tech company. It's not an Amazon. It's not an Apple.
Oh, it's not. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's not. Because if you think about it, you got, Amazon is great and we love it, right? We use it every day. Boom, 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 boom. We order. I must have ordered over this holiday period 10 times. I must have ordered, and guess what? The stuff gets here in 2 days. Sometimes it gets here in 1 day. But and we love our Apple products, right?
Yes, we do.
We do. Netflix.
Although I don't want to buy a new phone every 2 years, Apple. Jesus Christmas.
But Netflix isn't a tech company.
That's right.
I like the fact that they're not purchasing live sports. I like that they could say, hey, you know what? Here's your movies, rated from G rating to TVMA.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't like. I don't like their new rating system, which is just a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have 5 stars, and that was better. But as complaints go, it's like, I don't like the peanuts on this plane. It's like it's a small thing to complain about. It really is. But yeah.
But I mean, end of the day, they have 130 million global users
daily. Wow.
Yeah.
130 million global users.
130, and I think I had that correct. 130 million global. Not that 130 million is not just U.S. I think that's the global number. But so, I mean, I was originally.
First of all, I would think that there'd be more than 130 million U.S. users. But yeah.
Well, there's roughly 300 million. 300 million.
Yeah, there's like 320 million Americans.
120 million to vote.
That's the truth.
You can barely get 120 million to vote.
That's true.
It's true, but it's sad. Or is it sad and it's true? I don't know. But
I think it's both.
I think both too.
It's truly sad. That's truly sad.
So it's a great model. They got some great movies on there. The interactive movie is something that's scratching the surface on what they're going to do, because, we see a movie, we sit there and watch a 90-minute movie. How many people do you know could sit here and, hey, if you can pick how you want this movie to go. You want this person to, your protagonist. You want them to strike the person or go out the side door. And based on those choices, the movie is going in a different direction.
Dude, remember when we were kids and there were choose your own adventure books?
Yes, that's exactly
it
is. You see how it's full circle, right?
But, Netflix has done this before because, like I told you, I don't do a lot of horror movies because I have a delicate constitution. So I watch, there's this thing on Minecraft, and it's a cartoon. And I'm always up at like 2 in the morning. And it's a choose-your-own-adventure cartoon. And I was like, what? So I didn't finish the whole thing, but I watched like 40 minutes of it.
Okay.
And it's a choose-your-own-adventure cartoon. And I was kind of impressed by them even trying that. And now that you tell me that they did it with a live action,
yes.
And now I really have to watch it. I'm going to put my shaky Shawn hat aside and watch this thing. But yeah.
It's Black Mirror. It's anthology series. It's great. It's great. What was I going to say? Like I said, if you just into the Japanese anime, you being
I draw, so
an artist, right. that's totally up your alley.
I'm always watching what they like and what's popular, and maybe I can sell them a script kind of thing in the back of my head. And that's my excuse for watching cartoons at this age.
Hey, I do want to thank our good friends that the home of Late Night Parents, 1240 AM 1240 WGBB. That's the home station. We sit up there every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah.
We air a live show. I want to thank the good folks there, the producer, engineer, Brian Graves, of course, Mr. Jeff Lowe, the station manager. It's been a great partnership. We're going into our third year of being with the station. Shawn, there's just really some good people there. All in all, the original station was in Bayshore. Bayshore, North Babylon. I think it was North Babylon. But now they're located in Merrick, less than 10 minutes away from the house. So I love the station even more.
Right.
I told them, I said, you guys are great. I'm going to be here forever. What more can I say? But other than that, man, it's been, as usual, it's great talking with you.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us when and where we can expect your pod for 2019.
All right, I'm not tech savvy like my man Ted is, but I've resolved my New Year's resolution is to do my YouTube show and once a week regularly at a minimum, and paint more. But you can catch me on Twitter and Facebook, True Armor, on YouTube at Armor Intergalactic, and I'll see you in the new year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my friend.
And don't give up on those New Year's resolutions. Like I said, if it takes you 6 years, it takes you 6 years. Especially if they're solid ones, like write that novel or get in shape or, ask that girl out. Don't take 6 years to ask that girl out. But you know what I'm saying. But yeah, try and it fortifies you, man. It makes you a more serious person to yourself if you can say that you're going to do something and then fight toward doing it. Even if no one knows, you feel a notch up.
That's cool. I definitely will remember that, and I will continue to chart out my this upcoming 2019 and all the things that I'm looking to do. So we're going to always be in touch. Because always want to get you on here a couple of times a month to see where you are, to see your take, and definitely appreciate you, love you, and love the fam. So we shall meet again, my friend.
Absolutely. Peace out, homie.
All right. Peace.
Peace.